Hi everyone, I am happy to be here doing this. I'm going to try something new today. I'm very new to pressure canning, and this will be my first pressure can. I've done some jellies and I did a couple of batches of pickles, but this will be the actual first thing I pressure can, just to try it out. I like learning new things, doing new things, and this is something actually that is pretty healthy for the family, and so we're going to try this out. One thing I do recommend is going into the manual, reading the manual. These are pretty they're pretty massive machines, and they give you the instructions of how to use them because that's how they were made to be used. And there's a lot of very, very important information that you're going to want to know. I read it over a couple of times. I've done a lot of researching on the internet, and it's a little intimidating. It's a big old canner, but I didn't have enough counter space to continue doing or stovetop space actually to continue doing the stovetop method of it, and this was just the next best thing. So I have some green beans left over from this weekend's barbecue. I've got some onions, cut up a couple of pieces of garlic for each can, and I've washed and snapped the green beans. They're ready to go, but there's a couple of things that we have to do first. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the top, and I'll show you what it tells you to do. Oops, still don't have room for that. Okay, it tells you to keep your water level at the fill line when you're pressure canning. Water bath canning, you'll take the level up to 1 or 2 inches above the can line, but this one in pressure canning, you actually do keep it at the fill line. And when you turn on the machine, it starts blinking pressure can, and we're going to tell it yes. I'm taking the directions just straight out of the digital canner book, just because I don't want to jack anything up, but the instructions say that we're going to process pints for 20 minutes. So we're going to set our timer there for 20 minutes. And it's kind of a dummy-proof machine. It tells you step by step what to do. And the first step, it says to insert the jars. And we're going to insert the jars to about halfway full. It just weights the jar down. You can use hot water to speed up the process. And we're just going to fill those to about halfway. I don't think that's going to be enough green beans to do 4 jars, but I'm going to prep it just in case. And if we get 3 and don't have enough for 4, we'll just feed it to the chickens. And that's 3. That's 4. They do recommend that you put a couple of tablespoons of vinegar in your water in your canner. It keeps the jars from becoming cloudy when they're pressure cooking. And I noticed a difference, so I googled why it was cloudy, and that's what it said to do, so I've started doing that. Now the jars are in, the vinegar's in there, and we're going to put the top on. And you just slide it closed. You make sure this regulator is off of it. It tells you when to put it on later, and this particular stage requires the regulator to be off. And so you'll just close your machine and turn it, and then you will push it forward. Now this will warm the jars, and they've already been washed and sterilized, but this warms the jars and preps them to the proper temp to where we can add our ingredients. And the next step says to have boiled water ready, and I will of course get the hot water ready for the lids, and then I've got everything else kind of set to the side. So when this beeps and tells me it's ready for the next step, I'll come. Okay, so we got a beep on the machine, and it tells us to fill the jars, so we are just gonna come get our water that was boiling. and move it over here. Now we're gonna undo our latch and remove our top. And we're just gonna set that to the side over there just to get it out of the way. Okay, so these are not ideal gloves for this. I'll be finding another way to go with that soon. But from this point, you remove your jars and you discard the water because you want that water to remain at that fill level. And we're just gonna do 2 first because we don't want the jars to cool enough to where we're gonna shatter the jar when we put it back in the really hot water. But with that being said, after just a couple of seconds and you put, you fill a little bit of the jars up, they really aren't that hot to the touch, so they'll be easy to fill. And you just shake them down in there. And what I've done, I've gotten, since I took a break, I've gotten a couple of little peppercorns because I don't want the water to be cloudy from pepper. But we're just gonna fill our jar. We're not gonna smash it, but we're gonna just pack it down as good as we can, because these do shrink quite a bit when you, vegetables and fruits do shrink quite a bit when you process them in a processor. Oops. All right. So for each one of these jars, I'm just gonna grab like 1 garlic and, I don't know, 3 peppers. I did a little bit of research on this, on the salts, using the salts. When you look at this salt, canning salt, pickling salt, and you look at table salt has like 6 ingredients. This one says salt. So we went with salt. And I don't really, it says use a teaspoon, but I don't really want it to be that salty, so we'll do that. And is the peppercorn gonna make it hot? I don't know. We'll see. And so with that, let me just get a spoon to do this. You see my breakfast from earlier? All right. Now I got this gadget on the internet. This particular book says to give 1 inch of headspace on the jar, and this fits both sizes of jars, so it's pretty convenient. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna fill this with the hot water, and it doesn't matter that it's going everywhere because it's just hot water. And that looks about right for that one. Now, I'm gonna get a paper towel. I'm just gonna dip it in this hot water. Some people use vinegar. I've never seen my people use vinegar, but they could call me later and be like, yeah, we use vinegar. But I didn't. So then we've got our lid in the hot water over there, but we're just gonna get the bubbles out of this. Actually, I'm gonna have to do that lid thing again because I just touched that. But you just mash around for air bubbles. You still leave the inch headspace. Let me wipe that off one more time. And then you get your lid. You attach your lid. Some people say boil your lids. Some people say you don't have to do any of it, but I do put them at least in hot water because that's what I've seen my people do as I was a young person, so I just go with that. And we're gonna do, it's a small batch, but it'll be okay. They just shrink so much that I don't want to lose much of it. I don't even know if I put onion in that last one, but if I didn't, there'll just be one without onion. I like the flavor of a cooked onion in a green bean, but that one may not have it. So we'll do that. Then we'll do that and a couple of peppercorns. We'll do about a 4th teaspoon of the salt. And then we'll do the water. Okay. And then we will mash out any air bubbles. And that should be good, so we'll wipe our top off to get any junk off. We'll get these last two done. Oops. Come here. All right. To this. Oops. I'm not real familiar with the best way to get the veggies in the jar. I did a bunch of Googling, but I guess there's not necessarily a wrong way, but if there's a better way, somebody could tell me what it is. And then we've got a garlic and some peppercorns here. I'll probably have to get a couple more of those out. And then we'll do some of that again. And we'll fill that up. I think we're actually going to have enough to do 4. I'll have to see. If you're wondering what that was my vacuum in the bedroom. All right. So we'll smash the bubbles out of this, just pushing any to the side, making sure that we don't have any in there. I don't know why they make a difference, but they do. And then we'll wipe this lid real good. Grabbing one of these. And we'll put that one in there. And I do think we're going to have enough for 4 cans. Sorry, chickens. And you know, if I didn't do this, they would sit in the bottom of my fridge and they would probably spoil because we love green beans, but we don't always have time to make green beans, you know? Not fresh green beans. Alright, that's gonna have to be enough. So a little bit of onion there, 1 garlic. I just get a couple more of these. Okay. And then we'll take this one to a 1-inch headspace. Which seems to be about right. And we will kind of mash this around to get bubbles out. I'm going to take a couple of those green beans out. The chickens will be thrilled. All right. And then we're going to wipe that off there. We're going to take our last little lid, flip it on. Now, we've already set our machine to the time, so now all we have to do is attach the lid, which we're going to do now. And we're going to flip this down. We still don't put this regulator on yet. It'll come on and tell us in a little while. We'll hear some beeping and it will light up right here and say attach the regulator. But right now we're just going to tell it that yes, we're good to go on that. Everything's locked down, and now it will heat up and get to proper temp for the regulator attachment, and so we will come back. Okay, so this says the pressure canner is ready to put the regulator on. This is a very quick step. It's very simple. Again, it's pretty dummy proof. And this way vents you see, that way vents you see. So you want to just have it set equally in the middle, and then you tell it to proceed. And it's going to spend some time, about 20 minutes, removing the air from the canner. This is going to pop up, and we will try and come back when it says that it's about to can. It just kicked into cool, and we will just let this run. I will start a timer and see how long this runs. This is a really long process. The cool down process takes the longest. So I will come back when this cuts off with kind of a time estimate and let you know how long that took. And we are almost done. Okay, so it beeped 10 times, and it says right here that it is done. So we are going to remove the top and release that. It's no longer under pressure. And let's just see what we've got. These are heat resistant, so we'll just lay that right there. And then we'll just pull these out. Now in this instance, I normally tilt the cans to get the water off, but there's really not water on top, and it says don't tilt the cans, so we won't. And ladies and gentlemen, oop, I did tilt that. Oopsie. We'll eat that one tomorrow. It looks like everything's good. It didn't shrink up too terribly much. We're going to just turn our canner off so that can cool off. And we ended up with about 4 quarts of green beans. And I will check in with you guys tomorrow after they cool, and we will check the seal and see what we think about them. Okay, so we are next day. We've given everything plenty of time to cool off. It boiled for hours on the countertop, but let's see what we got. It's very clear. You can see the peppercorns in the bottom, but the water didn't cloud up. And what we're gonna do is, it says to remove all of our rings, and we're gonna test the seals just by lifting the jars by the seals. That one's good, or by the lids. That's good. That's good. They all seem to be pretty well sealed, and so there we have it. Pressure canned green beans in a digital canner, and we will stick these in the cabinet and save them for later. I'm going to try and do several of these videos. I'm going to try and do some corn later. I'll do another batch of pickles, and I'll hopefully learn how to use this GoPro just a little bit better so we're not shaky and you can see everything real clear. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I hope you learned something. I learned something, and I'm excited to have been able to share it. So see you next time. Thank you.